Hey riders, let's now talk about another climbing skill that we call the climbing dismount. Imagine you're going up a climb and a rider has stopped in front of you blocking your path and you're going to have to stop. Or additionally, the climb has gotten too hard and you're not going to be able to continue forward anyway. We're going to think about how we're going to stop safely and give us the opportunity to restart when it may be appropriate. So when we are climbing and we're thinking about the fact that we're going to have to stop, I want you to remember the 4 L's. We're going to look, lock, lean, and land. We're going to look to the side of the bike that we're going to put our foot down on. If we're going across the slope and one side of the mountain is higher than the other, we're going to step towards the uphill side where the ground is closest to our foot. Next is the lock. We're going to lock our brakes so that we don't roll backwards accidentally. The lean, we're going to lean the bike towards the side that we want to put our foot down, which is very deliberate to make sure we don't fall in the wrong direction. And then lastly, we're going to land with our foot stepping forward so that we're using good bike and body separation and we're nice and balanced as we come to a stop. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Hey coaches, let's dive just a little bit deeper for a moment as we talk about the why related to the climbing dismount. The climbing dismount is often very intuitive. We realize we're going to have to stop and we're going to put a foot down. But in times when we've got an awkward scenario, either we're being surprised that we're going to have to stop because something's happening suddenly in front of us, or we recognize we're on a really steep slope, this can become pretty dangerous very quickly. So this climbing dismount is a skill that we should be working on with our riders. Additionally, we have those 4 L's, look, lock, lean, and land. Each one is important, but there's some that seem more important in certain scenarios. Let's imagine we're going up a hill and we've got exposure on one side, where the rider may fall a significant distance and hurt themselves. We want to be very deliberate about which side of the trail they're going to be looking at and where they're going to look to put their foot down so that they don't go in the wrong direction. Additionally, if the terrain were very steep, a rider that doesn't lock their brakes is going to roll backwards, and that is very often going to lead to a fall and maybe a hit on the back of the head, which is very bad. So let's make sure that we accentuate locking those brakes to make sure we stop moving completely. Next is that leaning of the bike. The lean is also related to looking and how we want to make sure the bike is going towards the direction we want to put our foot down. Oftentimes when we do this skill, as we take one foot off, the other foot that remains on the pedal pushes the bike in the wrong direction and we tip over on the wrong side. So we want to be deliberate about leaning the bike in the direction we want to go in order to then put our foot down very easily. The last of the L's is land, and as we're landing with our foot, we want to ensure that we're stepping forward. A rider that doesn't step forward may lose their balance and start falling backwards, and obviously that's going to lead to a problem as well. So those 4 L's are very important, and we want to help the riders to realize each one of them. All right, coaches, let's talk about a few progressions related to the climbing dismount. After they've had the opportunity to practice what you showed them during the demo, let's make sure that they can do this on either side of the bike. Riders have a tendency to step off always with the same foot, but in some cases on the trail, that may not be the right choice. So we want riders to be able to understand how they can do this both on the left side and the right side. Another great progression is to steepen the terrain, which is going to require them to step more forward as they're landing, which may seem awkward to them, but it's keeping it much safer. Another great progression that I love to introduce is playing a game similar to red light, green light, where you have the group climbing up the slope, and then when you say red light, they all have to do a climbing dismount. And that is going to accentuate the quickness that they should be able to do this and stay balanced on the bike as it's stopping. Hey coaches, now let's talk about a few errors that we see related to the climbing dismount. The first is that the riders are taking their foot off their pedal early, which is going to often dictate how well they're coming to a stop. So I ask them to come to a stop with both of their feet on their pedals. As they lock the brakes, they lean the bike and then step forward to put their foot down. Another very common error is that the rider doesn't lock their brakes and they start rolling backwards inadvertently. The next of our common errors is the rider doesn't lean the bike enough towards the side they're going to step down, and therefore the bike ends up tilting or leaning in the wrong direction and they stumble. The last of our common errors is when the rider doesn't step forward enough and then they start losing their balance backwards.